We are hearing from the New York City Department on Aging. Okay, just want to make sure it was city and not state. So I got that right. And I'm looking forward to this. So with that,
Charise Lawrence, if you'd introduce yourself and we'll let you have at it. It's really nice to see your face. I miss you.
So nice to see you. And if I do happen to go off camera at some point, at least you've seen me now, right? Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for this invitation to address your committee meeting tonight. I am Charise Lawrence, the Brooklyn Government Affairs Officer at the New York City Department for the Aging. The acronym we use is DFTA, DFTA. We always like to correct that. We want to make sure that everybody out in the community knows that we're not Department of Aging or Department of the Aging. We are Department for the Aging.
but I stand corrected.
And it's okay. No scolding, chastising, but we just like to get it right? So again, thank you for having me. And I really want to make this as informal as possible. I've done almost a full day. I came home to be with you all, and I just want to tell you that our population, our older adult population, the 60 plus group they're the ones that we consider older adults or seniors. You may hear me go back and forth, use the terms interchangeably. They're growing in our city. I mean, by leaps and bounds, people are aging in place. They're in their homes, they're in their apartments, they're all over, and they are aging. Some are living very well. Some need a little bit more support. And for the roughly 1.76 million older adults in New York City, the Department for the Aging is trying to ensure for the population that we serve at our senior centers, case management agencies, we're trying to ensure that their quality of life is a good quality of life. Obviously, if you have a number like 1.76 million, no, we're not serving that entire population, maybe about 10% of that. And within our networks, which are what we really like to talk about is our partnerships with community-based organizations, our providers, local organizations and agencies that help us to serve this cohort. So we've got hundreds of senior centers, hundreds of older adult centers. We've got case management agencies for the frail, more homebound elderly, and we have transportation programs. So what you'll notice if you've passed an older adult center or senior centers, you may see funded by the Department for the Aging, and it may have a sponsor name. So those are the local organizations that we work closely with, that we partner with in order to provide that service. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you'll be seeing some changes, maybe not changes, but some expansions in months to come, because the Department for the Aging did have a request for proposal to expand the older adult center network and our naturally occurring retirement communities, otherwise known as NORCs. You will be seeing more throughout the city. So that was our promise when we released the proposal to expand the network, because again, we have an aging population, and we also know there's some communities that are not as well served as others. So to be more equitable, there was an RFP process, and people have been notified about their awards. They're in contract negotiations, and some public hearings have taken place. So hopefully I'll have good news to announce to your district in the months to come. Hopefully next month, really, before the end of the year. I don't know if you hear my phone ringing in the background. I don't know why. This doesn't happen usually, but in any event, okay, so I've mentioned our older adult centers. They're the places where our seniors come and congregate. and engage in socialization. They get to talk to each other. They get to experience great programming, exercise classes, um, all kinds of health and wellness screenings. It's really about them being together. And as you know, during this period of the pandemic, we shuttered our centers. And then fortunately, we've been able to reopen 99% of them. We've reopened, but we had them limited in terms of capacity. And very soon there will be expanding that capacity as well, so that we'll be able to allow more seniors into the center. And we're still offering virtual programming for those who may still not feel comfortable coming back, but that's also to keep them engaged. We've been focusing on social isolation and combating social isolation. So, the center's reopening, that's helping tremendously to combat social isolation. We've made 6 million wellness calls during this period to combat social isolation. We want them to know that they've got a connection to their senior centers, to case management agencies, to the Department for the Aging. In addition, most recently, we've started to distribute tablets through our senior centers. So for those seniors who may be meeting certain criteria like living alone, or they're socially isolated living alone, or they don't own a tablet, but they're a member of a senior center, they may have been identified as eligible to receive one of these tablets. So we're hopeful about them being able to connect. That's really what it's about, being able to connect. The tablets come with Wi-Fi and apps. They'll have this service available to them through June 30th of 2022. So again, we're just trying to make sure that we're keeping our seniors connected. So that's what's going on through our senior centers. They're the ones making the decisions about who gets what based on criteria. And we leave all of that to them. So if you've got any questions about, the tablets, know that you should be in touch with the neighborhood senior centers, or if any seniors are coming to you and asking about, oh, why didn't I get one? Or, whatever, you can always reach out to them. And if you're not getting an answer, certainly circle back to me by all means. So for our in-home supports through our case management agencies, I did mention it's really for those who are homebound and may require home delivered meals or some support through home care. So there's also friendly visiting that can be made available to that population that, again, is isolated. There also may be an opportunity to assist them with bill paying. We have a bill payer program that is basically also referred through our case management agency. So the friendly visiting is referred through case management. If a senior, is feeling lonely and would like a visit, we've shut it down for the pandemic, and I can tell you now that it's back up and running again. So they're able to be matched with a visitor and socialize. Who doesn't want socialization? So, these are good things that they're opening back up, and more normalcy is coming. We have a transportation program, not a big one, but we have a transportation program that is pretty much linked with our senior centers, and can get seniors to their centers as well as to their appointments, doctor's appointments, medical appointments, some other social appointments. And we are also expanding in terms of transportation. We've launched a DFTA My Ride program, which unfortunately is not available in Community Board 14 at this time. There were specific community boards throughout the city that were identified as being transportation deserts. So for this purpose, in Brooklyn, it was Community Board 5, Community Board 13, Community Board 15, 16, and 17. And we did very well, though, in Brooklyn in connecting, utilizing our community boards to get the word out to the population that may be interested in an on-demand car service. So this is what DFTA My Ride is offering them, a yearly, yes, a yearly allocation of, I think it's $900, and they get to go throughout the 5 boroughs to Nassau County and Westchester County on demand. And we launched it, or we started onboarding a couple of weeks ago, and I think the first ride began last Wednesday or Thursday. So we're hoping for good things, and we're hoping to make sure our seniors get to where they've got to go, and that they're not saying, you know, well, unfortunately, I can't get there because I have no transportation. You know, that's common to hear. So this is something new. This is something that was being worked on. This was something pre-pandemic that has finally come to fruition, and we're excited about that. We also offer caregiver support. I mean, as you know, caregiving, big, big, big. Just recently with Build It Back Better, we know that there's been money put into caregiver support because so many of us are caregivers. So many, I mean, my mother is still working, but there are times when I have to be an advocate. And so many of you can probably relate, or you have friends or family, you know, other people that you know, who have to step in and get help for a loved one. So within our agency, we offer that kind of support for, you know, we counsel in through social workers that are out in the community. We contract with programs out in the community to provide the kind of supportive programs, social workers, referrals and respite information, counseling on long-term care options. So, you know, just letting people know that where there's a need, you know, we may not be one-stop shopping, but for the most part, DFTA can help you as much as possible along the way in your, you know, within your journey. So caregiver support is something to keep in mind. If you ever need, you can always call our Aging Connect line, which is our contact center. And that number, which somebody can put in the chat if you're not writing it down now, is 212-244 6469, 212-244-6469. The number that I have just given you, it's 212 Aging NYC. Those are the call letters. And that's to anything, to our senior centers. If you need a number to the senior center in the neighborhood, if you need a, you know, number for the case management agency that covers your district. If you'd like to volunteer to be a friendly visiting volunteer, that's really the entry point to the department for the aging. So whatever questions, we have specialists there to assist. Also now, this is open enrollment season for Medicare. And thank you, Sean. This is open enrollment season for Medicare, and our health insurance information counseling and assistance program, otherwise known as HICAP, is there to help. We have experts who can talk seniors through the maze of Medicare, A, B, C, D, you know, whatever questions they may have about which plan would be best during this period. There are presentations that they can make. There are one-on-ones that our counselors do. So we do really ask you to spread the word. We don't want anybody to be lost about what's the best plan to have. So again, using the Aging Connect line, that individual or those individuals can be put in touch with a HICAP counselor. One of the things that I wanted to also mention is our senior employment services. You know, we know that during this has been a difficult time, period. All right, it's been a difficult time. and people are in need of employment. And fortunately, this program doesn't have an age requirement of 60 in order to be eligible. For our older adult centers or case management agencies or transportation programs, the age is 60 because according to the Older Americans Act, that is the age in which we deem someone a senior. But for the Senior Employment Services Program, which is a federally funded Senior Employment Services runs the Title V program, which is federally funded. They've dropped the age requirement to 55. And again, during this period, people have not been able to come in person to have an assessment done to see if they may be eligible for a position. They, place people within agencies, they place them all over, wherever there are opportunities and they're qualified, they're placed. So now I understand that we've opened the doors again to that population that is looking for a job or maybe looking for some resume writing tips, some computer training. Our doors are open again through the Senior Employment Services Program. So you can certainly spread the word if you're hearing about anybody that is looking to work, but of course they have to meet a certain income threshold, and it is lower income because it's a federally funded program. And they get to learn a lot and they get to have experience on the job. We have part of our caregiving program I should have mentioned is our Grandparent Resource Center. So for grandparents raising grandchildren, supports are in place within our agency to guide them through kinship care, all of the nuances of that, all the technicalities regarding kinship care, and provide supportive services, respite services for grandparents. It's a big deal. I mean, there are thousands of people who are doing this, and I don't know if we really think about parents being, grandparents, but really parenting all over again. And that's what many are doing. Many are doing that throughout the city. So we have a tremendously dedicated staff. My colleagues, I can tell you that they're out in the field, they're on the phones, they're going to all kinds of appointments with grandparents or their grandchildren, just making sure that they're okay. They've been on television, they've received awards because they've really done great work. And if as I mentioned, the Senior Employment Services Program, we also have something called the Foster Grandparents Program for seniors looking to work with children in the hospitals or in the schools and get a small stipend. So it's different from Senior Employment Services, but it's still giving them a little bit of money, if they need a little extra help, but also the opportunity to do something intergenerational. So we've got those programs with you. I put myself on mute. Sorry about that. So we've got those programs within the agency and plenty of volunteer opportunities, plenty. And you can always call the Agent Connect line and state, I'd like to be a volunteer. Can you pass my name and my number along? I want to find out more about it. Of course, it's on our website, but the volunteer manager would know what types of opportunities are available. So initially, it started out as placing people within the programs within the Department for the Aging, like the Foster Grandparents Program or the Bill Payer Program, giving them opportunities within the agency, but it's expanded now. I mean, some of our volunteers might even accompany me to a community event, just to kind of help at a fair. So it's really giving them exposure. It's giving them a sense of fulfillment and giving back. If this is what a retired senior would love to do, by all means, we'd love to have them. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. I can think of a few other things to mention, but I might want to be informed by your questions that are out there, and it might jog my memory to think of what else to mention. How's that sound? If you have any questions, and then I might remember, oh, okay, I forgot to mention that. I'll circle back.
Is that okay with you, Nina?
that sounds fine.
And
Okay.
do you want to monitor who's raising hands, or do you want me to do that?
You're usually better at it than I am.
I don't know about that, but I do know that Glenn Woolen did have a hand up and then he put it down. Was your question answered, Glenn?
Well, it was partially answered. I was curious as to what the lower end of the age range was. And then you mentioned 60. But I'm wondering if when you're talking about the 1.7 million seniors in New York, is that based on that same number at 60 and over?
Well, 60 and older is the number we use. In order for a senior to become a member of a center, they have to be at least 60. Again, it's according to the Older Americans Act. That is how we've defined who is a senior based on what has been authorized as the age. When someone reaches 60, that person is, we don't like to think of them perhaps as a senior because they're still young, right? But according to the Older Americans Act, it allows us to welcome them into our centers, make them
When I
comfy at
first
home. Mhm. I'm sorry, Mr. Wallen.
my AARP at 55,
I know.
who are they talking about? 55? I'm not old yet. That's a while ago. So
I know what you mean. Well, 50 was when they hit me, and I wasn't quite ready for AARP. Well, what can I say? What can I say? This is the way it is. But 60, yes, that is the number that we use for our seniors to qualify for any of our services, like the ones I mentioned, the case management, the transportation, and the older adult centers, except for our senior employment services.
thank you.
You're welcome. And a great many of that 1.76 million or so are in the high 70s and 80s and 90s. And we've got quite a few centenarians and super centenarians. Lots of people are living long in the city, but we want them to live well. That's the thing. We want them to live well.
Nina, I see that Joanne Brown and you and Melissa have your hands up. It seems protocol to call on the chair of her committee first. If you'd like to go ahead, Nina.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I actually am very interested in finding out whether there has been any interface with programs to help older individuals, particularly those who may be more limited in either accessing services, transportation, and so forth, to get them connected to vaccination services, especially, I hear about now they're offering home vaccination services and so forth. So what could you tell me about that?
All as part of that $6 million calls that are $6 million, 6 million calls that we've been making to our network of seniors. Vaccinations have been primary in those calls, and we've been sharing all kinds of information in the beginning when the vaccination became available, helping them make appointments, letting them know that they could have someone come to the home and administer a shot if they were obviously homebound elderly. That was what we were letting them know that was available to them. We were keeping them as posted as possible about how this was all evolving. So yes, that is, while it's the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, still as seniors are our population and we know that they're vulnerable, we have definitely been sharing all the information that's been coming out of the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Department of Health. So the vaccine, yes, has been very much well promoted.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just heard a commercial just now. So if they're not getting a call from DFTA or any of DFTA's partners, they're certainly hearing about it on TV, right? Anybody else? Did you want to know which programs are in your neighborhood, in your district?
Hi, Ms. Lawrence. It's Joanne Brown. How
Hi,
are
Ms.
you?
Brown.
Nice
How
to
you
see
doing?
you.
Same here. Well, I don't see you, but nice to hear your voice.
I'm sorry. I'm eating dinner and
It's fine. It's fine.
less a question, just more of a comment. I just want to commend the foresight on your new transportation program, because I can't tell you the severe shortage that is being experienced throughout New York City to get our seniors and people who need to get to their medical appointments via, alternative transportation, or private transportation. It has just been impossible. So I just want to commend you and say what a service that is at this time. So thank you so very much.
Appreciate that, and I will relay that to my colleagues. As a government affairs person for Brooklyn, we worked very closely with getting the word out, and we were so very thankful that we had partners like the community board, because we want to make sure that as many people are reached as possible. So thank you for that, and you can always send a message through Agent Connect, and it'll get to the commissioner. But you can always, commend, because I think that's what we need to know in order for this program to continue. We need to see how this pilot goes, and if it goes well, well, we're moving into another administration, but that administration would need to know that this is something that would, need to be supported.
I will certainly do that. It's so important right now. It's the number one thing that we have going on with our patients. They just can't get to where they need to go.
Yes, and I remember when I was assisting on the Agent Connect line for a period of time during the telework phase, transportation was always a high call volume, because it's just so limited. It's just so limited. I don't think I really knew until I started getting those calls. So it helped me to understand a lot better, put me in a different space. So it is definitely needed.
Again, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Melissa Minich, you were next with your hand up.
Thank you for all of this. It's been great. And my apologies if I missed this, but I don't know if you spoke at all about what DFTA, how DFTA is working with eviction prevention, and specifically reaching out to seniors. I mean, of course, there's the, ERAP, that those applications just closed. The funding is essentially used up, and we have our eviction prevention ban is going to be, the deadline is on January 15th. But in terms of scree jury applications, there's a lot.
So what I can say about that is, like transportation, housing is probably number one in terms of calls, and evictions are often part of the whole housing call volume. Some people are just looking for affordable senior housing, but others are in jeopardy of being evicted. So within our legal services, and it's not that we actually have legal services, we contract with Brooklyn Legal Services, all of those, the NILAGs, the legal aid, I mean, they're all partners. But within the department, we have an assigned counsel project.
I was wondering if that was still active.
Very small. Very small, yes, but mighty in terms of trying the staff trying their best to buy time for the seniors. No one can actually just call DFTA and ask for assistance or support from the assigned counsel project. The case already needs to be in court, and it has to be referred through the courts to us. And if there's some supportive services that can be put in place, then that will be done to prevent the eviction, or as I said, maybe perhaps negotiate a little bit more time. But it's not part of our portfolio. Housing is really a call that we receive, but the awareness, because people are desperate, the awareness is really not there that DFTA doesn't have that as its portfolio. Housing isn't part of its portfolio. We try to help. We have a housing specialist, someone who knows a lot about advising on housing issues, but we don't actually have a unit. So we'll see how that goes, because it's another major need.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And just one quick
and
follow-up on that.
Department of Finance has SCREE and DREE.
I was just going to ask as well, is the home sharing program, is that actually still active?
It is. It is. Not heard much about it lately, but it is an opportunity for someone to share a living space, share expenses, rent. It is still viable. Um, but I honestly have not heard very much about how many matches are being made. But thank you for asking. I'm going to circle back and see how the program is doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Great, and thanks, Charise.
And it's run through the New York Foundation for Senior Citizens, but it's fun. They receive funding through us. I'm sorry,
So
Sean.
any updates or information you want us to push out, please get to us and we'll do that. I
Sure.
don't see any other hands out, but I'm going to jump in with a question
Sure.
of my own because first of all, I just wanted to make sure that the transportation programs that you said were in our neighboring districts all have higher percentages of those in the 65 and older population, and they do. In fact, Brooklyn Community Board 13 has the highest percentage of over 65 in the city.
It's my district. I live here and I see it.
23.9%. That's huge. But we have 13.2%, and CB18, which has the program, has 14.9. So looks like we should be next if we're going by
I'm
population
hoping
percentage.
that you get your wish, because this was something that was put on hold, a decision that was made. Then we went into telework. It got slowed down, shut down, revived, and this was the first cohort. But I'm hoping for you as well. I'm hoping everybody can get this in the end.
Yeah. I'll hope for all of my colleagues, but I'm still going to hope that that CB14 is first in line
Sure.
for the next phase. And then also, I remember writing this in our district needs statement a couple of years ago, and I didn't look it up to include this year. But I recall that in 14, not only was our aging population growing, but the olders were growing faster. Do you know if that's still the case?
It probably still is. I don't have any of those numbers. I only brought with me the contracted services in the district, but no actual numbers. And, I can certainly get that from our planning people. I can find out what that maybe the median age, and then, is that what you would be interested in? Or do
All
you
of that, or like a bar graph of who's the age groups that have grown most
Okay.
expeditiously than
Okay.
from the 65 and up, like the 65 to 70 and 70, 75, 75 to 80, all of that.
Do you want to know from like the, one end of the district to the other? Because it could be pretty different looking. If I
Yeah,
can
I
get
mean, the
that
more
for you.
hyper local you can make it, the more I'll eat it
Okay.
up. That'd be great.
Okay.
It helps us with our planning. It helps us when we're looking at affordable housing and what we need in different areas and where they're building. And so that would be great. Thank you. And then you had, I think, begun to offer to go through services that are offered within the confines of Community District 14. So if you want to go through that, I suspect everybody's interested in hearing it.
Okay, absolutely. So, in your district, we have Brookdale Neighborhood Senior Center, Dorchester Neighborhood Senior Center, Senior Citizens League of Midwood. Who doesn't know Eleanor? Senior Citizens League of Midwood Neighborhood Senior Center, Hazel Brooks Neighborhood Senior Center, Young Israel Senior Services Neighborhood Senior Center, the JASA Storefront Case Management, the JASA Elder Abuse Brooklyn. I didn't even mention our elder abuse program, but we're on it too with that. We definitely don't want our seniors to be physically, emotionally, financially abused. So we're also providing services there for the victim, and interfacing with the local police and the DA's office, on these types of matters. The JASA New York Connects office, which is for seniors, seniors with disabilities. It's really like And for those who are 18 and older with disabilities, it's the lifespan. And they're helping with resources that New York Connects is offering with resources for that population. So you have one right on 1901 Coney Island Avenue. I don't know if they're seeing people in person. You might have to call and make an appointment. JASA Brooklyn Home Delivered Meals through JASA and the JASA Brooklyn Caregiver Respite Program. If you needed me, I'm sorry, I didn't give actual addresses, but if anybody needed the addresses of where these places are, I can certainly, if there was a name that you heard me call that may not have been familiar to you and you needed the address, I do have that. So, just let Sean know if you have a question. But I said Brookdale, Dorchester, Senior Citizens League of Midwood, Hazel Brooks, Young Israel, JASA Storefront, JASA Elder Abuse, JASA New York Connects, JASA's big in your district, JASA Brooklyn Home Delivered Meals, and JASA Brooklyn Caregiver Respite Program, but I do have the specific addresses. Something popped up on the screen. I don't know if it was a question. No, there was no question about the actual addresses or locations. Okay.
I'm not seeing any hands up.
Okay. But I mean, I would think that, you're well served, but who knows, it may be expanding as a result of the RFP, which is always a good thing, right?
Yeah. Nina, I don't see any other hands up unless does anybody want to jump in with a question? Or Nina, do you want to take it from here?
I think it's really been very thorough, and thank you. I learned a lot. Yeah, I don't see any other hands up either.
Yeah. Well, thank you. One of the other things I should mention, as the weather is, getting very cold tonight, snow removals. Who's going to be thinking about snow? Oh, yes, I know the community board will be getting those calls from seniors. I just want you to know it's not at all housed at the Department for the Aging. So for any of that, please call 311. We had such a time last year. We don't have any services to offer seniors regarding snow removal. So we were very fortunate that we were able to make sure this is not a call that will hopefully it won't come into the Department for the Aging, because another entity will handle, and we think it's either NYC Service or Sanitation. So it makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if they do, let us know, because we can coordinate, especially if it's sanitation, then we're sitting pretty. And if it's another one of those another service, we'll try. But let's stay in communication about that.
Absolutely.
Should it snow?
Should it snow? I mean, yeah, right. Climate change. We don't know what's going to happen.
I will say, since I've got a number of board members on here, and Robin Redmond from FDC is with us too, and Robin knows this as well. Charise Lawrence is one of the best city agency liaisons with whom our board works. She's always with us for our district service cabinet meetings, for any calls that we make. Anya's smiling because Anya calls her a lot and she's always helpful. And so I just want to, let you know how much we appreciate you and how your professionalism and your follow-up, and, you're one of the people who really cares about what you do, and you're just a pleasure and a model of serving people well.
I really thank you all, really, truly, and have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. This makes me teary.
And Robin Redmond agreed with me in the chat, and Robin and I don't always agree, so it must be true.
Thank you for this honor, and it's always a pleasure to serve. I'm here for you, and I will follow up with you I'll see what I can find out tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, it will be next week that I'll get back in touch with you. Okay. I'm going to take some time off.
Totally fair. You enjoy it. You deserve it. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Have a great evening and holiday, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Good night, everyone. Happy holiday.
Thank you. Good night.
I guess we are adjourned. I'll see you all. If anybody I don't talk to, happy Thanksgiving.
To you all. Thanksgiving, everyone.
Oh, Glenda,
Happy
can you stay on
Thanksgiving.
1 second? Because I want to thank you. You wrapped up the flooding meeting with a reminder that was just totally singing my song. Thank you for reminding people to clean 18 inches into the curb and noting the leaves are difficult. I appreciate that message being out there from somebody other than Broken Record Campbell. So thanks for making mention of that the other night. And with that, good night, everybody.